What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be reviewing some portfolios that were sent to me for this video by subscribers here on YouTube and by my followers on Instagram. The purpose of this video is to share a bit of a framework that you can use to evaluate your own portfolio, give some insights into what makes a strong portfolio, what to look for in a collection of work, and also to have some fun talking about pretty pictures. I'm not going to give any strong criticisms or harsh judgments in this video. It is really intended for slightly educational fun. Generally, I'm going to look at each portfolio as a collection of work rather than at individual photos. Basically, I'm going to be critiquing the presentation of the work rather than the work itself. That said, I will point out photos that I see as outliers in the collection for one reason or another, and I'll discuss how they conflict with or complement the overall collection of work. So hopefully this sounds fun and interesting to you. I am really excited to do some lighthearted content, which is exactly what this is. So without further ado, let's jump right in and talk about our first portfolio. So the first portfolio that I have to share with you is Sam's photos. And here it is. When I first clicked on this portfolio, I thought that it was only 9 photos, and I kind of scoured the rest of the website looking for more than 9 photos, and I couldn't find them. And then finally, I hovered my mouse over the photos and I realized that each photo actually links to a gallery. And so after clicking on the galleries, my main critique of this portfolio went from there's not enough photos to there's too many photos. Sorry, Sam. These are good quality images, like the photographic skill is there, but this is way too many photos for a portfolio. So I would recommend sitting down and picking one shot that you really love from each one of these models and just highlight those. I like this one of this girl, for example, and then this one of this girl. And that way you have 5 really strong images in this set that all complement each other because they're taken of models wearing the same designer, instead of having 45 shots that are very similar. And I think this takes confidence too, right? Like, this is not a problem with your photography. This is a problem with your confidence. You gotta trust yourself to be able to pick the very best shot and not hedge your bets by including all of these other similar shots. Maybe there are 2 that you love and they're very similar, but you gotta pick one anyways, because if they're very similar, it's not gonna make any difference to a client which one you pick. As for the overall presentation of the galleries, I do really like that Sam has all of the fashion show in the first 2 rows and then portraits at the bottom. I think that's like a good separation. And what this separation tells me is that Sam shoots mostly fashion shows and then does some portrait work on the side. Overall, my recommendation for Sam would be to add more content from different shoots and shows and to really reduce the number of photos in each gallery. So instead of showing me 9 galleries with 30 photos in each of them, I want you to show me 30 galleries with like 1 to 5 photos in each of them. That way, the only photos in your portfolio are your absolute best work. And that elevates your overall portfolio to that caliber, to the absolute best that you can do. So great photos, Sam. Keep shooting. Your photographic skill is on point. Put some effort into curating these galleries. So moving on, the next portfolio that I have for you guys is by Justin F. And it is a portfolio on Model Mayhem, which, oh my God, it's been a while since I've seen a Model Mayhem portfolio. In this set, we're gonna be looking at 31 photos. There are 39 photos available, but some of them are not safe for work and I can't show them on YouTube. So we're just gonna look at the safe for work ones. Here are the 31 images, and at first glance, I can tell that a lot of them are shot on film. So that's really cool, we love that. And it looks like Fujifilm to me, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin. So definitely the film photos are my favorites. This photo is my favorite in the gallery, and it's also a bit of an outlier among the rest of the images. A lot of the shots in this portfolio are very direct, right? You've got the subject facing the camera at eye level with the subject, the same sort of head and shoulders crop in a lot of them, and the model's got a very similar expression in a lot of them. So this one stands out to me because it's kind of the opposite of that, right? It's very indirect. I think this one with the umbrella has a similar impact, although the colors are not as striking as they are with the red and the blue. I can see in this portfolio that Justin is experimenting with a lot of different ideas and techniques, and I really appreciate seeing that kind of artistic exploration. I think that's a great thing to do in photography, and it's a big part of what makes photography fun. But the main criticism that I have overall in this portfolio is that there's not much consistency between the images. So in the editing style or the lighting or the contrast. The subjects are fairly consistent, but the actual qualities of the image, not so much. And to me, that could be an issue for potential clients who are looking at this portfolio and trying to predict what their photos are gonna look like. You know, if I hire you for a shoot, am I gonna get something nice and bright and airy like this one, or something dark and moody like this one, or am I gonna get one that's washed out like this one, or really colorful like this one? My advice to you, Justin, would be to spend some time honing your own personal editing style and try to incorporate some consistent elements into each of your photos that are not related to the subject. So not posing or expression, but consistent elements in the color toning, the kind of lighting you use, the brightness versus shadow kind of balance. And then try to find a set of standards in there that appeals to you. Obviously you can go outside of those standards and think outside the box and all of that, but these are the things that are gonna help to unite your body of work. And I think a little bit more consistency there would really help to elevate your portfolio. Next portfolio, we've got Manpreet Singh. So this is an Instagram portfolio, and I think the rest of our portfolios are gonna be Instagram portfolios. This is a great way to display your work if you don't have a website, and I would highly encourage any photographer out there to make an effort to have at least a moderate presence on Instagram. Something that stands out to me immediately in this portfolio is that Manpreet used to only post black and white and has recently started dabbling in color. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really sorry. The black and white photos are a lot stronger than the color photos. Reason being, the strength in the black and white photos comes from this really dense use of shadow in certain areas of the frame, and that really helps to balance the composition and pull your eye towards the subject. I don't see that kind of compositional feature in the color images, right? There's no particular areas of light and shadow to kind of draw your eye around the frame. My advice to Manpreet would be to go out photographing on days with harsher sunlight so you get those harsher shadows even in the color images. And then you can use those shadows to create visual separation between elements in the frame. Only one of these color photos looks like it was taken in full sun, and it looks like it was taken around midday when the sun is at its highest in the sky and the shadows are gonna be at their smallest. So instead, I would recommend going out to take photos in the early morning or in the early evening when the sun is a little bit lower in the sky and the shadows are gonna be a lot longer. And that's gonna give you a lot more to work with in terms of negative space. Like honestly, I think an ideal day for street photography would be a bright sunny day in January when the sun stays really low in the sky and cast those long shadows all day long. I think that would really, really help to elevate these color photos. I really like how Manpreet photographs people. I think it's very natural and very anthropological. I can tell that he has an interest in people from the way that he captures them, and I think that's a great quality to have as a photographer. I would love to see some more sets or collections from Manpreet in the future, like this set of 3 images of men being alone. I think that these images work very well together as a set, and I see some other photos throughout the feed that would also go really well together in a set, but it's up to the photographer to pull them together and present them as one piece. So I'd like to see some of that. Okay, moving on. Oh my God, I'm losing the sunlight. My ring light broke, so it might get really dark in here by the end of this video, but let's hope not. So moving on, we have Eve. And Eve's got another Instagram portfolio. And what strikes me about Eve's portfolio is that it's all on film. Woohoo, we love that. Or at least it looks like it is. Again, I do suspect this is Fuji Superia. Correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like I can tell Fuji Superia. I have like a sixth sense for it. Eve has some very stylish friends, it seems. A lot of these recent works seem to feature a friend group, and that's a really cool style. There have been a few really iconic photographers whose work is praised because they capture their friends as they are, and in doing so, document a specific time and place from an insider's perspective. I think the use of film really adds to this effect. As I scroll back through the images, I can see a few layers of stylistic exploration. More recently, Eve has been experimenting with flash photography in dark places, but a lot of the earlier work features kind of daylight stuff, but still there is consistent elements that tie the whole portfolio together. Specifically, the focus on people, which I think is great. There's a few outliers though, and those are the photos that don't feature people, which I actually don't find as compelling as the portraits, mostly because the raw, unrefined, real-life quality that makes the portrait so interesting is also what makes photos of regular objects a little bit mundane. So my advice to Eve, I think this is a really fun portfolio. You might really enjoy experimenting with different ways of altering the photo in camera without altering the scene itself, because capturing the scene as it is part of the charm of these photos, but there's still ways to have fun and get a little bit creative with the photo. So try playing around with adding colored gels in front of the light. I think that would be a really great way to elevate these photos without altering too much of what makes them unique and charming. You can check out this photographer Benoit Pailly on Instagram for some inspiration on what that kind of photography can look like. I think you might have a lot of fun with it. Okay, moving on, we have Anushka. Now, Anushka has another great film-looking portfolio. I actually can't tell if these were taken on film. I suspect that they weren't, but they do have that great 90s analog grunge vibe, right? Which is super trendy right now and also just a really refined stylistic flavor for these photos to have. Anushka does a great job of experimenting with different creative techniques while also keeping that overarching stylistic flair. One of my main critiques here of this portfolio would be the subject matter is a little all over the place. And that's not a huge criticism by any means, but just having separate portfolios for different buckets of work, I think would really benefit Anushka here. We have protests and portraits and selfies and concerts and fashion all occupying the same digital space, which is a little bit overwhelming. Now, Anushka says that she is making a new portfolio since she shot at Vancouver Fashion Week, which I think is a great idea. Generally speaking, I would recommend keeping posed and intentional photos separate from candid and found photos. So have a portfolio for events like concerts and protests, and have a separate portfolio for portraits and fashion. That said, the consistency in editing and colors is really strong across all subject matter, so this doesn't matter as much in Anushka's case as it would for somebody who maybe has less of a clearly defined personal style. One thing that I would recommend to Anushka is to go out and shoot some more because there's a lot of great content here, but there's only about 30 photos on the whole Instagram, and a bunch are from the same shoots and events. So even though the work that is here is really strong, the body of work is fairly small, and that is a bit of a drawback for the whole collection. So go out and take more photos and then edit them just like you've been doing because it looks good. Finally, and oh my god, I am really losing the light. I am so sorry. It's gonna be like pitch black in here by the time I'm done recording this video, but okay. So finally, we have Will Hopkins. Here is Will Hopkins' portfolio, and this is entirely a matter of my own personal taste, but I think I've saved the best for last. I'm going to review the first few scrolls of Will's portfolio because I can really see that he's been putting effort into curating it recently, and that shows. What stands out to me first and foremost about this portfolio is presentation, which is really like the point of this video. So right now, the first 6 shots on his Instagram go together very well. The subject matter is consistent and the style is consistent, like the editing, the colors, the shape. All of that. There's just great consistency. The first 6 photos are all black and white, all square, and all featuring imagery of domesticity, right? Having this consistency in both the appearance of the photo and the subject matter of the photo, I think is a really underrated quality in a portfolio. And then we scroll down and we have another set of 6, and this time it's 6 selfies. Again, all black and white, all square, great consistency. And after that, we scroll down and we have 6 more shots, and these are all color shots, all taken on the same film, so they have the same color toning. I really appreciate when photographers take the time to put their work into sets and collections. I think I've mentioned it a few times in this video, because I think, honestly, that photos tell a more compelling story when they're read together. So these aren't huge sets, all of the images are different, there's no repetitiveness, and yet they are very thematically and visually consistent. And that's what makes a strong portfolio at the end of the day, is consistency. There is one outlier that I want to talk about though, and it's this one with the motion blur. This one is an outlier to me because I actually don't see Will experimenting with in-camera techniques at all, except for in this photo. And I'm not saying that I think in-camera techniques would improve his images, but I do think that he might have fun experimenting with something like long exposure or double exposure. Ways of exerting more control over the image in creative ways might help push those artistic frontiers a little bit. I don't think adding lighting or anything would be the move here. I think that would kind of corrupt the found nature of what's in frame. But I do think adding a little something just for the sake of experimentation would be really fun to see. But don't let me push you off course with that, Will. Keep on in the direction you're going because your work is really sharp. Okay, well, that is all the portfolios that I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed this fun video. I hope you enjoyed hearing my insights on portfolio building and kind of looking at collections of work as collections rather than as individual photos. I had a lot of fun reviewing these portfolios. This is a kind of video that I would enjoy doing again. So if you guys like this, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know that you're interested in it, and I will consider it again in the future. I will be back next week with some very exciting things. I have a very exciting video planned next week. Exciting in a good way. You guys are gonna like it. I'm gonna like it. I've been looking forward to it since December, and I can't say anything else about it, but it's gonna be good. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you then. And in the meantime, I want you to stay sharp, and don't forget to keep shooting. Bye, guys.